Hello everybody. This is Perrin Lovett once again for Prepper Post News. Welcome back on Monday, December 21st, 2020. And today we're going to talk about the big pick, part of the big picture of 2020. I'd like to welcome everybody who, of course, is watching on our YouTube channel, everybody who finds us at freedomprepper.com, where, of course, all of today's stories are always linked up, along with all the other great Freedom Prepper articles. Everybody at the FP community, which is growing by leaps and bounds and experiencing all kind of wonderful input from you guys. And, of course, to everybody who is listening to the audio portion of these shows over at Anchor, Spotify, and the other several places where the podcast is found. It's going to be an exciting week. Christmas is Friday. And that means that the end of the year is right around the corner. And as part of this big picture celebration, and pick, there's a reason why that's today's feature. But we're going to do, I guess it's going to be kind of a top 10 prepper stories from the news of this year. I've got to work on that. I pretty much have them. I'm wrestling with what to call it and how to approach it. I think I'm just going to take them in chronological order. Some of these are, of course, much bigger than others, and some have multiple names that you already know. We've all lived through these. I'm tempted to call it 2020 the year of the hoax, but and that's kind of what we've got today. The big pick. I've been looking so long at these pics of the flu that I almost believe the hoax is real. I've also got some Solzhenitsyn quotes in addition to bastardized Cure lyrics. But anyway, I saw Ann Barnhart always has interesting stuff, and I saw an article that she had which led me to the webpage of the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC. And we are correctly informed that we can always trust our national health authorities about health matters, such as the coronavirus. And I know a lot of you have been wondering lately, yeah, okay, we have corona, but what about the flu? What about the cold and pneumonia? All these other ordinary respiratory diseases that sicken millions, tens of millions every year and claim tens of thousands of lives every year. Well, now we know. I've got a link to a CDC page and some data sets. Nobody likes those. I put them up, and nobody likes to go through them. Rightly so. It's a lot of stuff, but they've changed their definition. They've changed the way they count respiratory diseases, and they're just lumping them all together now. They call it PICS, which stands for pneumonia, pneumonia, influenza, and coronavirus, or the corona cold. So everything goes in together, and of course that means they count every single sickness, if they want to, as corona. They can say, well, it's a corona-related death because it was in the PIC set, even if it didn't involve corona, the coronavirus. Here's what they say, and this was the only quote-worthy part of the whole thing. Nationally, surveillance indicators tracking levels of SARS-CoV-2, I guess that's COVID-19 talk, circulation, and associated illnesses declined slightly or remained stable during the week ending December 12th, 2020. Remember, 3 billion cases a day is the worst ever. Slight decline in all these related cases. The percentage of deaths due to pneumonia, influenza, and COVID-19 PIC has been increasing since October. Both COVID-19 associated hospitalizations and PIC mortality for the most recent weeks are expected to increase as more data are received, or data are received. PIC mortality, PIC associated cases, PIC. They're throwing it all in together, and they've been doing this. At the end of the summer, they quietly released another massive set of data, and you had the dichotomy of died with the coronavirus versus died of the coronavirus. People who, at the time they were saying 200 20,000 deaths with the coronavirus. Well, 80% or 95% of those cases also they were all old, out of shape people, not uniformly, but almost, almost 99, 90, 95, 99%. And they also had 2 to 3 major comorbid conditions in addition to the coronavirus. People who died from the coronavirus exclusively were, I think it was less than 10,000. So that's what they've codified this stuff. They don't really try to hide what they're doing. In fact, these usual suspects kind of like you to know on some level. They want to rub it in so that you know who's in charge and you know what your place is. So they release their plans, they release the data. It's all right there, but then their media turns around and tells you a narrative. Well, this is what you got to believe, but you don't trust your lying eyes. Don't trust what they've just told you, what the experts just told you. We'll tell you what's real. Back in May, the CDC put out back-to-back studies that actually correlate back to studies done 100 years ago about face masks and how they are absolutely ineffective against viruses and bacteria and may in fact be dangerous in and of themselves. Mask dangerous, 2 studies. The recommendation was everybody wear a mask. So let me get to that Solzhenitsyn quote. Paul Craig Roberts had this the other day, or over the weekend, and in keeping silent about evil, in burying it so deep within us that no sign of it appears on the surface, we are implanting it, and it will rise up 1,000-fold in the future. When we neither punish nor reproach evildoers, we are not simply protecting their trivial old age. We are thereby ripping the foundations of justice from beneath new generations. In other words, call it out. Always call it out. You may not make any difference, but at least you're on the right side. So tell me what you think about that. Tell me what you thought about the original data sets, the breakdown of versus with, or anything else. Their statement that we can't really show you a clear picture of the coronavirus because we haven't isolated it yet. Anyway, but make sure you get your shot in the arm for the thing they haven't even seen yet, but they developed at warp speed. I've got a cute little graph here that tells a related story, all from the CDC. I got some pick headline stories in the news for us. All over the country and the world, we've started to see a few adverse reactions to the Pfizer vaccine. And of course, we've got the Moderna vaccine and allegedly a Johnson & Johnson vaccine coming right behind it. This is a story from The Hill. The FDA is now closely tracking adverse reactions around the country so as to come up with a plan of action, such as having an EpiPen on hand. So if you have an anaphylactic reaction, they can revive you before you die. And to illustrate the what kind of reactions they're looking out for, I attach a video that you've probably already seen. I think this is a nurse in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and she's demonstrating how easy it is to get vaccinated and how safe and effective the vaccine is. And they give it to her, and she's talking through a mask, of course, and she's talking, and then she just kind of falls out, and they rush over to help her. That's sign me up. I volunteer. I'm going to let everybody else go ahead. I'll be dead last, which I guess means that there might not be anybody to administer it to me. Oh well. We've got another government agency. I love the government. They're always helping us. They really are. The FDA that rammed this thing through with no testing and is now talking about the adverse effects. And every medication is going to have some adverse effect. We just, since they have blanket immunity, these drug companies, we don't know what's in it. We don't know how it was developed. We don't know what their conversations were. Do know that when a major pharmaceutical company makes any drug, they know what's going to go wrong with it, and odds are they have explored that in depth, and they will try to move mountains to keep that hidden from the public or from a judge or jury. Just keep that in mind the next time you pop any pill. Let's see. Now we have the EEOC, the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission, which is now saying that yes, it is not a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act or HIPAA for your employer to require you to take the Pfizer vaccine. This is different. And now, first, I would recommend that any job that tells you you have to have this untested, unnecessary vaccine is probably not a job that you really want or need. But there are caveats. I saw this is another Hill story. I saw something in the AJC about a local Atlanta company that was toying with this idea, and they took the right approach. They're going to recommend it, but they're not going to require it. I would just leave it alone and say your medical decisions, like all of the others, are yours to make. You decide those. You and your doctor, the old way. The two exceptions, and I have both of these. You can have a religious exception for a sincerely held religious belief, or you can have a medical disqualification. I am allergic to poison. Therefore, if I take this, I might die. I'm not going to take it. I have faith in God. I don't need this nonsense. I can read data sets. So you keep it. Study that one. Take a close look at that one. I've got other regulatory news to get to. Moving on. Bill Sardi had a take on this from a different angle. He's big on natural health and vitamins and nutrition, and he wrote a great story. I think it's at LouRockwell.com about what if this isn't really a disease so much as it is a manifestation of the horrible dietary lifestyles that people are leading these days. And he makes some convincing points about vitamin B deficiency and all of the symptoms that come with that look a whole lot like all of these upper respiratory PICS. It's no longer COVID, it's PICS symptoms. Take a look at that, and he points to an interesting concept of high-calorie malnutrition. As in America and a lot of other countries now, when people are eating, people that are supposed to eat 2,000 calories a day, are eating 3, 4, 5, 6,000 calories, but they're not getting anything out of it because it's all empty, starchy carbs and sugar. Take a look at that. He also talks about things that you drink that may be stripping away vitamins and nutrients. Very important article to read. Also, I've got something about the schools. Yeah, I've got time for this. Because of what the virus did, the PICS virus, schools all over the country, public and private, are in more of a mess than they already were, which is astounding. I think this is Indiana. They're looking for teachers. They've got so many teachers out, despite the fact that we have a vaccine, that they can't put anybody in the classrooms with the socially distanced kids and the plexiglass bubbles all wearing masks. So they're turning to college students to come in and teach elementary, middle, and high school. And it's an interesting article from the AP. I think it's on the one hand great that these one set of young people can step in to help the even younger. Excuse me. But well, take a look at that. We'll move this right along. I got some more important government stuff to talk about. But first, let's start with Congress. I call this Mo Money because we've got so much money floating around Washington D.C. and New York that I remember when I was a kid. It was I can't remember now. It was the transitionary period between Carter and Reagan, right around 1980, 81, and $1 trillion was the big marker of the time. The total federal debt on books was just under $1 trillion, and nobody really wanted to be the Congress or the president that pushed it over $1 trillion. I think that honor went to Reagan. And also the federal budget every year was under $1 trillion, and I think it was also Reagan that hit that milestone for us. $1 trillion a year in federal spending. In this month alone, Congress has cranked out $3 trillion in federal spending, most of it debt spending. And this is going to push the federal debt up to, I think, $28 trillion on books. There's more behind that. But the official debt, $28 trillion. A few years ago, I made the prediction based on the way this thing doubles basically every presidency, that by 2024 we'd be looking at a $40 trillion on books national debt. And then things slowed down. I started thinking, oh, what if it only hits 30 trillion? I might be behind. Thank God for Congress. They've sped things up. We're back on track now. And this, it's not just good for me and my predicting abilities. If you listen to your average midwit economist, they, especially in the popular press, they'll say that this debt doesn't matter because we owe it to ourselves, which is utter malarkey. Biden term, malarkey. Because if we owed it to ourselves, why do we carry it? Why not? If we owe it, if it's an asset and a liability, then it's zeroed out. What's the point in even having it? That's not how it works. But let's give the devil his due. Let's say they're right today. Y'all are filthy, stinking rich. I'm excited. But everybody's not excited. The Wall Street Journal has a very interesting write-up from the end of last week about trust and how Americans just don't trust each other anymore. And their editorial staff looked at it hard and walked right by the answer, and then got it completely wrong. And then said, oh, I guess we'll never know. Interestingly enough, their artist put up a cartoon, and I don't think we should show this one for copyright purposes, but the cartoon picture tells you the whole story. There's a reason why when you cram, like the Tower of Babel, you cram in everybody, with no commonality. People don't trust each other. Imagine that. But you can always trust the mainstream media to tell you the wrong story. Kudos to the artist, whoever that was. Speaking of trust, I put part of this up on the community Friday evening after I saw it. We had some funny things happen Friday, long after after you had even watched the Friday news. First of all, we had the Pentagon, the acting Secretary of Defense, announced that he's no longer going to work with the Biden transition team. He had been providing classified military intelligence updates, briefings that are normally given to prepare the next president, and that stopped all of a sudden for some reason. And everybody was, oh, what's going on? And then we had a tweet from Secretary of State Pompeo. He said, I can just read you the whole thing. There is no clash between Secretary Mnuchin and me, of Treasury, Mnuchin. We are simply working to resolve interagency mechanics of an important executive order. And then Mnuchin turned around and tweeted the same thing about Pompeo and himself. I think that's grammatically wrong. It should be Mnuchin and I. But what executive order could they be talking about? Friday was the 45th day after something happened. Something that might have triggered a previous 2018 executive order. So right about now, Monday, we may be finding out more about this because apparently there's been, per the executive order of 2018, a lot of investigation about something that everybody else told us was already wrapped up, which we know it's not. So, as I keep saying, it's going to be a very fun January for us. And then I've got some spy stories. Everybody loves this stuff. I'll take the little one first. Futurism has this article about a private company of some kind, doesn't matter, that launched a satellite that uses not ground penetrating radar, but some other kind of active radar system. It can see through skyscrapers. It can pick out, it can look at individual rooms in a building all the way from space. Look right through them. And they've got some pictures of, I think it's Tokyo, and it's like you're looking right. It's like it's transparent. You're looking through everything. That's what a private company has today. What does the government have, and how long have they had it? Odds are quite some time, and it's probably a lot more impressive and accurate than that, which is a little scary. Now the big spy story. This weekend we learned allegedly about a massive hack of all government agencies and a bunch of Fortune 500 companies The biggest computer hack in history, and we know Russia did it. It was a declaration of war by Russia. And, I believe the hacking angle, I'm not so sure about the Russia part. One, because they've been saying Russia, 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 and, for years for no reason. And also, what does Russia have to stand to gain from this? Absolutely nothing. And I also know that the CIA and some other alphabet agencies long ago developed hacking programs whereby country X could hack into systems in country Y and make it look like country Z did it. And we know that some of those programs escaped Langley and they went, so we don't know who did this. Big businesses and big government losing computer power. I'm more for that than I am for, spying in skyscrapers. Here we go. Here's the big regulatory. I'm pressing time now. Here's another regulatory debacle. Some of our commenters have already asked about this earlier, about the ATF and their new proposed regulations on AR pistol braces, stocks for pistols in the M4 platform. They don't want to make it illegal per se, but via regulation they want to make it a regulated item. They want to, I guess, make it a class 2 or class 3 weapons system, meaning you've got to register it, you have to pay for a tax stamp, got to get a background check, all this BS, or you got to turn it in or have it destroyed, or or lose it. What AR? I don't have an AR. They've already tried this, and now they're talking about it again. The question we had before was, what happens under Biden? Well, the deep state ATF doesn't care who the president is. They've always got an agenda. It's completely anti-Second Amendment, anti-freedom, anti-American, and they're going to run with it. So how far are they going to get? I don't know. In October, they were shut down by Trump. Hopefully that will happen again, in January or February. But they're moving right along. They're up to the rulemaking phase and the public commentary. So that's where you can come in. Check around the Federal Register or the ATF website. You can go in and leave your comment about why this is a horrible idea. Not that they really read those. And if I leave a comment, I'm going to go, the last time I commented in the CFR about something like this was when the FDA was about to take over the premium cigar market. And like everybody else, like a good conservative, I went in with all these facts, and I was very didactic and dialectic, and they don't care about that. I think maybe just sheer rhetoric, tell them off, tell them what they really are. Not that it's going to matter. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But speaking of rhetoric, the last word of the day is gamma. Some of you ladies know who and what that is. Some fellas do too. They're a plague. It's Christmas time, so I'm not going to bore you with this story, but maybe when we get settled in the new year, I'll tell you a little bit about a recent literary run-in with a gamma male, and we'll talk about how fun they are, how to shut them down, and if you don't, the damage they can do. And this is not just about, comments on a online newspaper. If they come into any organization, they wreck it. They're malicious, they're mid-witted, and they're frequently mentally ill. So while we can pity them, we just can't let them wreck things. I'll talk about that more. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off for the day. I've got to. It's time. I'll be back with so much more tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great Monday. I'll see you then.